America today in the 21st century, we find that the obesity epidemic is so far hitting our country at over 100 million people in America. 40% of Americans are deemed obese. That's $173 billion annually we spend on this problem. Is there a way to reverse that trend in America? Is there a way to get your health back and reclaim the person that Christ wants you to be? To help us answer that question, we're going to bring out Dr. Walt Cross, the naturopathic doctor, coming from the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. Don't let his southern charm and his wonderful mustache fool you. Behind the mustache lies a man that has the ability, the knowledge to help you change your life and reverse the obesity trend in your family and across America. This is the battle for your frontal lobe. Please put your hands together and welcome Walt Cross.
Good afternoon again. You know, as we look at the issues that we deal with today, as we look at New Year's resolutions, what is the one major New Year's resolution that people make? Weight loss, yeah. And the challenge is, then we see people who say, no, I'm not going to do a New Year's resolution because I just can't do it. So let's take a look at today, and let's look, is there a way that we can have effective weight loss? And as we look today, we're going to look at not just to look better, but there's other healthcare issues that can be impacted by being outside ideal body weight. So let's take a look. So reversing diabetes, risk of overweight and obesity. I'm going to run through these and I'll then go a little more in depth. Type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, metabolic syndrome, fatty liver disease. There's some cancers, breathing problems, osteoarthritis, gout, diseases of the gallbladder and the pancreas, kidney disease, pregnancy problems, fertility problems, sexual function problems, mental health problems. Those are just some of those that NIH has said you can have when you are outside ideal body weight. The definition of overweight and obesity by CDC, a person whose weight is higher than what is considered to be a normal weight for a given height is described as being overweight or having obesity. Now, normal. What is normal? That's the challenge. A fella came to me one day and he said, Walt, he says, I went to my doctor and he says, you need to lose X of weight and you need to be this amount of weight. And he said, Doc, none of my friends look that way. I mean, you know, I'd look like I was back in high school. He says, well, you need to look at different friends. And it's true that when we get used to looking at people that are a certain size, we think that is the norm. But is the norm always good? And we may say the norm in size or maybe even the norm in behavior is not always good. Would you agree? So as we look at the obesity overall, we look here in Arizona, you've got a 30 to 34%. In my home state of Tennessee, it is 35 to 39%. Now, there's two ways that we can look at being within or outside ideal body weight. We have the BMI, which most folks look at. You've got your height down on the left side. You've got your weight that's running across there. So let's say I'm 6'2", and I weigh X amount of weight. Let's say I weighed 179 pounds. Then I go straight up. That means I have a BMI of 23. Your BMI uses your total body weight and your height to work out if you're a healthy weight. And most of the medical community uses BMI. One part does not, and that's sports medicine. However, your BMI cannot tell you where fat is located in your body. This is the British Heart Foundation. It also cannot tell the difference between muscle and fat. And there's a difference between muscle and fat regarding to health. Absolutely there is. This means it may be misleading for people who are elderly, have a lot of muscle, or are pregnant. Also, there's a difference in men and women based on just how God made us. So here's percent body fat, and actually percent body fat will actually look at your age. It will look at male, female. They used to do percent body fat by dunking you into this vessel, and looking at water displacement. And then, do you remember when they used to pinch people? You take those fat calipers and they pinch you all over. Well, people don't like to be pinched anymore. And so now they use these things that you can either put your hands on. It's an Omron that can send a current through you, or you can step on, you can go to your local gym and they can check your percent body fat. Now, I personally like percent body fat better, and I'll share why. Your body fat percentage is the amount of your total body weight that's made up of fat. So we're differentiating between fat and muscle, which is a good thing here. So we're identifying the fat. A higher percentage of body fat can increase your chances of heart disease and circulatory disease. So while you may have a healthy BMI, body mass index, if more of your weight is made up of fat, you may still be at risk of health problems. According to Harvard Medical School, what is considered a healthy body fat percentage as you age? There is no agreed upon normal range for body fat, just as there is no ideal body weight. According to the World Health Organization, men ages 40 to 59 should aim for 11 to 21% body fat, while men ages 60 to 79, the range is 13 to 24%. However, the right weight and fat percentage for an individual depends upon multiple factors, such as general health, distribution of body fat, metabolism, amount, type, and intensity of physical exercise, waist size, ratio of waist size to hip size. I had this guy come in, and I did not understand yet about percent body fat. And this is what caused me to start looking at, is there something other than BMI? He comes in, the man he's in his mid-60s, he stands about this tall, he's about this wide, and he literally was off the chart at his height of the Mayo BMI. So he was extremely obese. But if I walked up to him and I pinched him, it would like me be walking up to a board and pinching it. You wouldn't get anything off of it. This man would break the Guinness Book of World Records at least once a year or twice a year. He was a bull. I mean, he was muscle, all muscle. The BMI doesn't work for him. You've got to look at percent body fat. So the question is it genetics? People come in and they say, well, there's nothing I can do for my weight. It's my mama's fat, my daddy's fat, my granddaddy's fat, my grandma's fat, all my family's fat. There ain't everything I can do. My doctor said I'm just genetically predisposed. Well, what if your mama smoked and your daddy smoked and they got lung cancer, and your grandma and your grandpa smoked and they got lung cancer, and you smoked and you got lung cancer? Is that genetic predisposition? I go into the school system and I teach little kids, and the kindergartners say, "Mister, that's because you smoke." It's a cause and effect thing. My cholesterol was 288, and the guys at work, this is before I left regular health care, and the guys at work said, "Walt, look at your daddy, look at your granddaddy, look at your kinfolk. You're genetically predisposed. We've got to go on a statin." Well, I didn't want to go on a statin. And so I went and did, with blood pressure, you do a no added salt diet, so I decided to go on a no added cholesterol diet. My cholesterol went from 288 to 104. I was surprised it worked so well. The docs, my buddies at work, were surprised it worked so well. I was not genetically predisposed. I was East Tennessee predisposed. Y'all understand? When you eat hog jowl and chitlins and biscuits and gravy, it just does stuff to you. So is it genetics or is it environment? Is it the choices that you make? And I find that is a huge part of it. Yes, there can be medical issues that we'll look at, but a lot of it is outside that. So how do we reverse obesity? And again, I'm going to go through here real quick, and then I'll explain. Calorie surplus, eating out, food deserts, eating at the wrong times, types of foods eaten at breakfast, diets are too high in calories, processed foods, modern wheat, dairy, oversized portions, dehydration, food advertising. And if you're here today and said, you know, I'd like to lose a little weight, write these down if they might be a trigger for you. Because I believe, I'll come back. Certain medications, disabilities, lack of physical exercise, lack of quality sleep, stress, underlying health issues. So I've used this illustration with y'all before in Virginia last year, in Kentucky last year. If I take a piece of sandpaper and I'm rubbing my arm and I take the hide off of it, what's going to happen? I'm going to have a sore. And let's say that you come in as my physician and you put medicine on it. And you said, let me help you there, Walt. And then when you leave, I go to rubbing it again. And you come back and you say, oh, Walt, it's getting worse. You really need to put some medicine on that thing. Yes, sir, I do. Help me. You put more medicine on it and I go to rubbing it again. You've got to stop the cause. The cure is in the cause. So these are causes. You've got to address those causes. You've got to address those triggers. Possible causes, let's look at them individually. Calorie surplus. People gain weight when they eat more calories than they burn through activity. This imbalance is the greatest contributor to weight gain, according to NIH. You've got a fella who's a farmer. You've got a fella who's a construction worker. You've got a guy who really works hard, a lot of energy expenditure, and then he retires. And he comes home and he sits down in the lazy chair. Does he still need those same calories to keep him going? That's a mistake people make. They just keep eating that same volume of food. Eating out. In 1969, my home state of Tennessee was the fourth healthiest state in the United States. In 2009, Tennessee was the fourth unhealthiest state in the United States. What happened? And Nashville said it was four things. Number one, the food that we ate. In 1968 and 1969, when we went out to eat, we went to Grandma's house to go out to eat. We didn't have the money to go out to eat. There wasn't places up on the mountain to go out to eat. In 1969, if you went and got a soft drink, that soft drink might be 8 ounces. Today they're gulps, and they fill them up multiple times. In 1969, we exercised. In 1969, I rode my bicycle to school, and I walked if I got in trouble. But we exercised. You know, when I got home, I was playing ball with the boys in the neighborhood, and Mom would almost have to whoop me to get inside to do my homework. We exercised. In 2009, what were the Tennessee kids doing? This is their exercise, their thumbs. That's about it. And in 1969, we breastfed. In 2009, ooh, that's gross. My girlfriend don't do that. That's gross. Those four major things caused us to go from the fourth healthiest state to the fourth unhealthiest state. Restaurants and fast food dishes often contain more calories than the meals which one would prepare at home. As a result, one meal may account for a large portion of one's recommended daily caloric intake. Weight gain can be caused from portion sizes, high levels of saturated and trans fats, cholesterol, sugar, sodium. These meals are also associated with being low in fiber and micronutrients. Food deserts. Who's ever heard of a food desert? Yeah. That's where some people don't have access to supermarkets that sell affordable, healthy foods, such as fresh fruit and vegetables. There's just junk food. That's all they have an option for. Eating at the wrong times. Dr. Charles Koop proposed that weight gain is a result of inappropriate timing of food intake in relation to evening sleep time. And I find as I work with people in weight loss, this is the biggest, outside what you're eating and outside getting exercise, but this is probably the third major issues that affects people's weight loss. It's probably the number one thing that people don't know that they need to do. See, when you eat breakfast, it increases metabolism. When you eat dinner, it increases metabolism. Now, I'm from the South, off the farm, dinner's a noon meal. So when you eat dinner, it increases metabolism and you burn calories. And at 3 o'clock, according to Dr. Koop, your metabolism starts shutting off. And so when you eat at night, you don't burn off those calories. And it just kind of sticks on you. And I find, and Dr. Koop actually found, if you really want to be effective in weight loss or maintain adequate body weight, eat a good breakfast and don't eat after 12 o'clock. Or he said don't eat within 8 to 8.5 hours of going to sleep. Well, you know that if you eat within 3 to 4 hours of laying down you have a propensity for that food to putrefy and to ferment. Types of foods eaten at breakfast. The types of foods typically eaten at breakfast may also contribute to the importance of the morning meal for weight control. Weight gain is often related to getting too many calories from fat rather than from complex carbohydrates. And y'all know Neil will be speaking here at the convention this weekend. We also learned from Neil in his book, Proof Positive, that when you don't eat breakfast, within 2 hours of awakening, you increase your risk of a heart attack and a stroke by 150% based on the playlist. Diets are too high in calories. In the United States, most people's diets are too high in calories, often from fast foods and high caloric beverages. People with obesity might eat more calories before feeling full, feel hungry sooner, or eat more due to stress or anxiety. And that's a huge one. And I work with people and I say, what do you eat for breakfast? McDonald's. What do you eat for dinner? Hardee's. What do you eat for supper? Pizza Hut. Do you ever eat at home? Sometimes. Christmas, Thanksgiving, they'll eat then. But literally, I have people that do not cook at home, do not prepare food at home at all, period. Can you imagine that? Processed foods. NIH study finds heavy processed foods causes overeating and weight gain. Where do you find heavy processed foods? In the middle of the grocery store. Modern wheat. There are 3 major hidden reasons that wheat products, not just gluten alone, with sugars in all its forms, is the major contributor to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, dementia, depression, and so many other modern ills. Why? Wheat used to have 14 chromosomes. Here in America, we went and changed it to 42 chromosomes. And plus, when we spray it with Roundup. And then when you spray it with Roundup, and Roundup gets in the soil, and it binds the magnesium in the wheat, the soybean, the alfalfa, the corn does not pull up magnesium. It contains superstarch, amylopectin A, that is a super fattening. It contains a form of super gluten that is super inflammatory. Dr. Agatha Thrash, good friend of mine, she said, Walt, biggest thing I find on arthritis is when a person eats the new wheat. Not that we didn't have arthritis before, but the modern arthritis that we're seeing today so much of, she said just one wheat cracker can kick on arthritis pain for 2 to 2.5 months. It contains forms of a superdrug that is super addictive and makes you crave and eat more. Dr. Mark Hammond. Dairy. Now, I'll first say I grew up on a dairy farm. Dairy, even for those who can tolerate dairy, it's worth noting that it can still play a significant role in weight gain. 1 glass of milk can spike insulin levels by 300%, contributing to obesity and elevating the risk of developing insulin resistance. When I took nutrition from T. Colin Campbell at Cornell, Campbell told us that dairy is the most significant chemical carcinogen ever discovered. Let me say that one more time. It blew me away growing up on a dairy farm. Dairy, that's milk, cheese, butter, ice cream, milkshake, is the most significant chemical carcinogen ever discovered. Milk is what you put to a calf to make it gain weight quick. It's like taking Ensure Plus to gain weight. That's what dairy is. Oversized food portions increase Americans' caloric intake, making even more physical activity necessary to maintain a healthy weight. Look back to our parents, our grandparents. In times of tough time, did they have the servings of food that we have today? Just look back in your mind's eye, what was put on the plate. We are, as T. Colin Campbell says, we are an affluent nation. We have an affluent diet. If we go back to what our grandparents ate, our great-grandparents ate, I was just talking with someone back in the back just a few moments ago, Victor. I said, Victor, look back in New York City. He's from up there in New York. Go back to New York City, go back home, pull out the newspaper, and look at the weights the class pictures in 1960, maybe even 1965, and look at those high school seniors. Maybe there's a person overweight, but probably not. It's what they ate back then, the servings that they ate back then, the activity they had back then. It was a huge part of it. Dehydration. For some people, that thirst sensation may trigger a desire to eat, regardless of whether a person is truly hungry. I don't know why. Do you have questions for God when you get to heaven? I do. I mean, I like science, and there's just some things we ain't figured out yet, and we'll have eternity to ask those questions. But why does being thirsty have the same sensation of hunger? I don't know. Or why is, it vice versa. And so why that is, I don't know, but just drink water and it can take care of that. In fact, there is evidence to suggest that decreased water intake is associated with increased food intake. There is evidence to suggest that decreased water intake is associated with increased food intake, thus increased overall caloric intake. Dehydration can also affect thermogenesis in the body. Food advertising. It's in the evening. You're sitting there. You're watching TV. They just ate them a pizza. A pizza really tastes good right now. And you whip out your cell phone, Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut, send me a pizza. And here they come delivering it to you. I mean, you got it so easy, they'll deliver it right to your door. And you just saw them on some TV program eating pizza. Advertisers are pretty smart, whether it's in the programming or at the advertisement. Food advertising encourages people to buy unhealthy foods such as high-fat snacks and sugary drinks. Certain medications one takes to treat other conditions may contribute to weight gain. Examples are antidepressants, steroids, anti-seizure medications, diabetic medications, and beta blockers. Again, if you're wanting to lose weight, if you have a spouse that's wanting to lose weight and they're not here today, or someone that you know, write these triggers down. They can help you. Because you've got to get rid of the cause before you can fix the problem. You've got to stop the sandpaper. Disabilities. Adult and children with physical and learning disabilities are more at risk for obesity. Physical limitations and lack of adequate specialized education and resources can contribute. Lack of physical activity, high amounts of screen time, like watching TV, playing video games, or spending time on one's mobile phone, tablet, or laptop, cut into the time they have for physical activity. When we were kids, we didn't have cell phones. Some folks didn't have TVs. I mean, we had a black and white TV. It got 3 stations. That's when we moved to the city up on the mountain. We got 1 channel. But remember, it was like snow. Do you remember that? I'd much rather go out there and play ball or do something. Lack of quality sleep, huge. Studies have found that the less people sleep, the more likely they are to be overweight or obese. This is particularly because hormones that are released during sleep help to control appetite and the body's use of energy. And what's proper sleep? Well, there's 3 things I look at sleep. Total hours of sleep, at least 7, if not 8. The Regional Belloc study, the Alameda County study said that you want between 8 and 9 hours of sleep. If you get less than 8, you die quicker. If you have more than 9, you die quicker. Then we look at what time should you go to bed. They found that from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, the brain does a deep clean. It's called the glymphatic system. From 10 to midnight, it does a thorough clean and flushing. But to get those benefits, you need to be asleep. And then you need to have contiguous sleep, not wake up 5, 6 times with prostate problems or wake up to go to the bathroom, waking up because you have arthritis pain, and then you're worrying about the kids, the grandkids. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about? You need that contiguous sleep to get into that REM sleep. I had a guy tell me the other day he has sleep apnea. But it's okay. Are you on a machine? No, but he says, it doesn't bother me. Did you go and did you have a sleep apnea study? Yes. How many times you wake up? It's a mess at times. And so when you're waking up all those times and he may not realize it, it affects. Stress. One's brain and body reacts to stress by making more hormones like cortisol that manage hunger. When one is stressed, they are more likely to eat high sugar foods, comfort food that their body stores as extra fat. Some people eat more than usual when they're bored, angry, upset, or stressed. Underlying health issues, diseases like metabolic syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome can cause side effects like weight gain. Mental health issues like anxiety. Anxiety has gone out the roof since COVID. I mean, it was bad already, but it's really bad now. Depression can lead to eating high-caloric foods that activate the pleasure centers in one's brain. Some hormone problems may cause overweight and obesity, such as underactive thyroid and Cushing's syndrome. So what do? Can you do it? Can you fix the problem, or is it too overwhelming? Number one, pray for God's direction, strength, and success. And I believe you'll hear that pretty consistent through the speakers this weekend. God is the one that provides the knowledge. And you say, well, God, I'm just not sure what to do. Well, God's the medical director. Ask God. God, what would you have me to do? Have you ever gone and bought a car and you go and look at this car and you pray on it and you go, that just ain't right. I just don't feel right on that. But then you look at this other car and you pray on it and you say, God, should I buy this car? And you feel that peace. This is what God wants me to do. The same thing is for your health. If you're not sure what to do, ask God, pray about it, and say, God, what do you want me to do? And He will give you that peace of which He wants you to do. Develop reasonable goals. I had someone the other day. They came in and they wanted to lose 60-some pounds and they wanted to get it done about a month and a half. If I wanted to climb Mount Everest, and I say, you know what, I just really like to do that. I really admire them people. I want to do that this summer. You think I could do that this summer? There ain't no way. It's got to be reasonable and obtainable. I was doing a stop smoking program just outside Winston-Salem, North Carolina, a town called Kernersville. Anybody ever heard of Winston-Salem? Toughest place I ever did stop smoking clinics. And back then we'd have 50, 60 people in the class. And it was Thursday evening, and I said, okay, we're going to quit. We had done Tuesday night, we had done Thursday night, and I told them, I said, okay, right before we left, I said, you can keep on smoking through the weekend if you want to. Sunday night is it, your last cigarette. When you come in here, there's never one again. Are y'all good for it? Everybody raised their hand except this one fellow. And I said, why can't you do it? He said, well, my mother-in-law's coming to town this weekend. She leaves next Wednesday. I'll stop next Wednesday. I said, I understand. Don't set yourself up to fail. It's got to be reasonable and obtainable. Don't say, well, I'm going to go on a weight loss program and it's Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Just don't set, or right before your vacation. Make sure it's reasonable and obtainable. Identify your possible causes from the identified list, the ones that we just went through. Do you have any of those? See, you've got to fix those, just like smoking. If you get up first thing in the morning, and see, when I have people quit smoking, I have them do a 3-day diary. Every cigarette they smoked, what was the time, who they were with, what they were doing, and many times, first thing in the morning. It might be with a cup of coffee. It might be, and the list goes on. Well, here's a way you get rid of the first thing in the morning. Just go get in the shower. And many people don't smoke in the shower. Take a nice long shower and finish with good cold water. And you ain't thinking about that cigarette after you get out. It works. The same thing here. Look at those potential causes, those triggers, and make a strategic plan to fix those. Identify your possible causes from the identified list. Lifestyle. A lifestyle with calorie surplus. Possible causes we looked here, calorie gained and calories burned, calorie gain versus calorie burned. You want to look at, Agatha Thrash told me one time, she said, losing weight is like money. She says, if you don't have enough money, you can either go get you a job that you can get more money, or get you 2 or 3 jobs increase your revenue. And then you've got to decrease your expenses, or do both. Well, the same thing, and you've got to do the same here. Either decrease your calories or increase your calorie burn. I was at Duke University. Excellent program. If you want to lose weight, try this. I met a lady at Duke. She lost over 200 pounds on this program. Amazing program. Dr. Walter Kempner. It's called the Duke Rice Diet. And I'm standing there with the physician there. This was back in 2002, maybe 2001. And the line is to the back of the room. There's over 100 patients. They're paying $1,300 for the first visit. No, $13,000 for the first visit, and $6,500 once a quarter to come back. And there's a line all the way back, and this lady comes up, and we'll call her Susie, and the doc says, Susie, you ain't lost weight in 3 days. Instead of walking 5 miles, I want you walking 8 miles today. Next, you got to increase the calorie burn. Increase that exercise. Is your problem eating out? Do you have food deserts? If so, look at where else you can get your food. Are you eating at the wrong times? Are you not eating breakfast? Are you eating after 3 o'clock? Types of foods eaten at breakfast. Too many calories from fat rather than from complex carbohydrates. Are you eating biscuits and gravy? That's a problem. Eating meals too high in calories. Eating processed foods. Eating modern wheat. Consuming dairy. Eating oversized portions. Dehydration. Not drinking adequate water. Influenced by food advertising. Taking certain medications. Well, I'm not telling you to stop your medications. But I am encouraging you to look, is there something you can do to fix that problem so you don't have to take the medication? Do you have diabetes? Diabetes is easier to reverse than toenail fungus, y'all. We see over a 98% reversal rate of type 2 diabetes. Now, in my first 20 years of working in regular health care, I never saw one care plan that said reversing diabetes. We didn't reverse nobody. It's the approach. There's a lot of times some of that medication can be discontinued because you don't have the problem anymore, because you change your lifestyle and the problem can go away. And then you don't have the problem of weight gain. Disabilities, lack of physical activity, and activity. Dr. Kempner looked at little humans and he looked at big humans here. And he found that little humans were exercising 4 times a day. They had recess in the morning, recess after dinner, recess in the afternoon, and went home and played and had chores. So Dr. Kempner at Duke, he went and applied that to big humans, adults. And he had you walking 4 times a day. Huge for weight loss, huge for reversing diabetes, huge for reversing cardiovascular disease. It's amazing. I was telling someone just the other day, I could not imagine telling my father, my grandfather, or my great-grandfather that they needed to go to the gym. We were a farming family. They were clearing land. They were putting in fence posts. They were picking up hay, and we didn't have round bales back then. They were square bales. Those men worked. They were milking cows. They exercised all day long. And we've gone to where, well, I'll go to the gym 3 times a week. Well, Duke found, no, not even once a day. Do it 4 times a day. It's so much better for us. We were made to move, and people ain't moving no more. Stress, lack of sleep, quality of sleep, stress, underlying health issues. So make a plan as we finish up here. Pray for God's direction, strength, and success. Start with that, y'all. God has the knowledge. He knows what's going on. He knows your finances. He knows your brain, what you're willing to do. He knows your challenges. Develop reasonable goals. Identify your possible causes from the identified list. Make a strategic plan for each cause. Choose an appropriate date. Choose an exercise program. Identify how much water to drink. Identify an effective bedtime. Choose a partner. Have a partner, and when you want that, boy, that milkshake looks right good. Or we'd say plumb good. Call your partner. Sally, help me out here. Talk to me for about 5 minutes. I'm driving past DQ right now. Identify a start date without barriers. Start the program. And now, we were talking about this at dinner today, and I learned this back years ago. Evaluate outcome indicators. That's huge. How do you know what you're doing if you don't evaluate it? if it's working or not. Look at your daily weights. Look at your weekly measurements. Our good buddy, Franklin Cobos, I was doing measurements twice a week, and Franklin goes, no, do weights every day. I said, why? He says, because you're going to miss some days if they're not losing weight, and then boom, 3 days later, 4 days later, or the next time, you weren't able to get on it like white on rice every day before you drink water. Monitor and identify the new barriers. Incorporate a plan of action for new barriers. Smile and enjoy your success. Well, y'all, again, where do we start? Prayer. Ask God what to do. God wants us healthy. It's not our bodies. 1 Corinthians 6 says that His Son bought it. We're just caretakers.